So, to finish off this section on styles, believe it or not, that's about all there is to it with HTML and styles. Like, people don't try not to get caught up in all the little details. I mean, the concept is pretty straightforward. We just have some content and we mark it with tags, and then we're just applying styles. And typically the way you apply styles is through adding classes and IDs, and then the style sheet will apply styles to it. Like I say, you typically want to avoid inline styles. Now, that being said, let's talk about CSS frameworks. The most commonly known CSS framework is Bootstrap. And a lot of websites are built in it. What is Bootstrap? Well, if you go through here, it's going to give you a bunch of information on it, but at the end of the day, let me just show you it. Let's see, getting started, and I'm going to link to their style sheet, and we're going to refresh the page here. So, talking about special styles or special tags that aren't rendered, link is another one here. So we have a link here, and get rid of all this extra stuff you don't need here. And this basically tells the web browser to go through and download this big style sheet that is just a style sheet just like that from, I can get rid of the min here so we can look at it, from this website on the internet. So we'll save that, refresh the page here, and nothing appeared to happen. But something did happen. If you were paying great attention, you'll notice the font actually changed here. So, let me just turn off one thing here. This is a little bit more, I have source mapping turned on, and that's a slightly more advanced topic here. So let's refresh the page. Excellent. So you can see here that H1, it now has our styles. So our shark style is coming from index, but it's also getting some styles from Bootstrap. So Bootstrap it's just a set of presets. So if we go there, you can see that Bootstrap says by default we want all of our H1s to have that font size. So if you're going into CSS, and in the next one we'll talk about lesson or JavaScript, but these CSS frameworks, it's really just a bunch of classes that have a bunch of preset styles. For example, if you go to components, there's great looking things here, and we'll look at their buttons. Those are button groups. They have a zillion of these things. There we go. Buttons. They have a class called BTN, a class of button default. Let's just take a look at those real quick here, just to give you an example. So I'm going to blow away our styles here, and let's add a button at the bottom of the page that's like, okay, we'll say learn more, and we're going to do button class button success. I happen to know that's one of their default styles. Learn more. So if we refresh the page, we get a nice looking button right there, very professional looking. Well, depends on your opinion of professional, but you can see that it has a bunch of default styles. So all these frameworks it's just a bunch of classes that you can add to elements or add to your content, and it will add just a look and feel very specific to them. So you can see if we change those, we'll get different colors and whatnot. Anyway, that's just a very high level of what these CSS frameworks are. Another popular one is Foundation, and we'll just go there for a second here. very, very similar. Docs is where we want to go here. It's not as popular of a website. It's not as well organized. Or their buttons, so we can just compare the buttons. There we go. You can see that they have a very similar look and feel. They have slightly different colors. They don't have the rounded corners by default. And you can see that their classes, instead of saying BTN for button, they named their class a button. And instead of BTN-success, they just called it success. So anyway, there's a variety of different CSS frameworks out there, but they're all fairly similar, and they're useful. Like, you really can get web pages up and going quicker with them. In the next section, we're going to begin looking at JavaScript. At the web, it's really just made up of three things: HTML, which is just content that's marked with tags; styles, with CSS styles, which are targeted at specific tags or classes and whatnot. And then the third thing is JavaScript, which adds interactivity. So we'll look at that here in a moment.